Welcome everyone back to Weekly Weather Updates, and in today's video we're going to have a look at the latest from the GFS, the GM, the ECMWF, the UK Met Office Run, the GFS and ECMWF Ensembles, and we'll finish up with the UK Met Office 5-day precipitation and temperature. Now over the last few days we've been looking at the polar vortex in the troposphere really powering up with west to northwesterly winds, pretty cool but seasonal feel, much chillier than we have had at the moment, with a bit of an interesting development on the latest 12Z models. We're actually seeing the hints of Scandinavian high potentially developing over the next week or two. Now, it's not guaranteed by any means. We're just seeing hints of it, and only a few of the models are showing it, and within the ensembles as well. So we'll have a look at that in quite a lot of detail today, as I know a lot of people have been frustrated, especially in the comments saying, winter's over. This northwesterly theme, although it's going to be decent over northern hills, it's not going to produce anything further southwards. And I have said that Scandinavian high would be, with this powerful tropospheric polar vortex towards Greenland and northern Canada, Scandinavian high would be the quickest route to cold, for widespread cold, really, over the next couple of weeks. So have a look at that in depth. So remember, if you enjoy my videos, make sure you like and subscribe, and remember to follow on Twitter as well, the link's in the description, and also check out the channel membership, as I've launched that early this week, so do check that out, and if you're interested, do sign up, and of course buy me a coffee as well, links in the description. First of all, I do want to say I hope everyone has a really good evening this for the last day of 2021. I'm hoping for a much better year in 2022 for the country in terms of everything going on with the Omicron stuff, of course. But I just wanted to say thank you to everyone here for watching, supporting, liking, commenting. Just simple likes and comments really does help me out. My channel has grown massively over the last year. We've put on over 2,000 subscribers. We've put on a few 100,000 views, and yeah, it's doing really well. I'm hoping for a better and bigger 2022. So I just wanted to say thank you to everyone. So if we do now have a look at the GFS, see what is happening this evening. Now I must say, GFS is going for quite a westerly theme, not one of the models showing a Scandinavian high sort of theme. However, it's still important to have a look at it, as of course the northwesterly winds are looking the most likely scenario, especially over the next week or two. So as you can see, that real quite mild southwesterly theme we've had over the last couple of days is going to continue into tomorrow. But by Sunday, we start to see westerly winds push back in. We'll be accompanied by some rain and fresher air. And by sort of Tuesday, Wednesday time, we're starting to pull in much fresher air in from the north. Quite a cold air mass pushing through. Could be some snow showers here or there. We'll have a look at the UK Met Office Run at the end of the video, where we could see where those potential wintry showers could place through Tuesday and Wednesday. Eventually, that high pressure that is giving that cold and northerly wind is going to topple, and it's going to bring a brief milder sector in. And then we go into a pretty chilly northwesterly polar maritime air mass for Thursday, Friday, and we just continue on that theme. Of course, there will be some milder sectors pushing through, but it's going to be a pretty chilly theme. You can see quite a lot of the time the upper air temperatures are in around that -5 sort of region. And we just continue with the westerly theme. And you can see milder sector, colder sector pushing through. Again, another milder sector, colder sector, and just, being really quite unsettled. Trying to ridge high pressure up, trying to give us a bit of amplification, but not really coming off. We just stay all the way to 384 hours with a pretty chilly northwesterly theme. So, from sort of the middle of next week, looking like for the whole of the run, we're staying with this same sort of pattern from the GFS. But as I said, that's not what all models are showing. Now if we have a look at the GM, see how that does compare, you can see over the next sort of 5 days or so, it's very much consistent with what we were seeing from the other models, with northerly winds pushing in by the middle of next week. Could be very interesting conditions from this GM run, though. I only just spotted that. This small little low pressure system, colder air coming in from the north, small little low pressure system, that could bring some really quite heavy snow potentially for some areas. So when we have a look at that specifically today, because we're not seeing that from other models, but that's just something to keep an eye on if we do see that developing low. And of course, over the next few days, if that does develop, we'll have a look at precipitation for that. Beyond that, we stay in that really quite chilly air mass through Tuesday, Wednesday, and the GM is much less progressive with that milder sector. Potentially because it has these hints of a bit of a Scandinavian high growing. You can see that milder sector really doesn't take too much of an impact, and we stay in the quite chilly -5 sort of air mass. And you can see if we go back to the pressure charts, Scandinavian high starting to develop. Now it's by no means a strong Scandinavian high by this stage, but it's keeping those westerly winds at bay, and it's pulling in a bit of a chillier theme. And you can see we stay in sort of the -5 sort of area. But by day 10, we're trying to see milder air push in from the Atlantic. But we've got a real quite cold block to our east. And if we did see that Scandinavian high get going, we could start to pull in some colder air in from the east. Now, this is only one run. It's only cropped up in the last sort of day or sort of 12 hours or so. But considering it's showing this potential Scandinavian high in sort of 5, 6, 7 days, it really is. There's really a potential for it. Now, the one reason why I'm looking at this in more detail is because we have been seeing over the last week or two, especially from the GFS, which isn't going for a Scandinavian high, hints in the longer term of it building in. Normally, always sort of 300 hours plus, but we are starting to see it on the GEM potentially towards day 10 or day 7 to day 10, and staying quite a chilly, would be very frosty, and if we did start to get that proper easterly wind in, then it could turn more wintry. But that's something we'll have to look at down the line if it does come off, because at this stage we're just concentrated on sort of the pressure patterns, because it's quite a change from a sort of flat northwesterly wind which the GFS is showing. Now, if we do have a look at the ECMWF, you can see again southwesterly winds at the moment, and then we see the northerly wind push in middle of next week, and then we go into that more westerly regime. Now, one thing I do want to point out is this is the midnight run, because the 12Z hasn't come out, but the GEM run was the midday run as it had come out. So we have to sort of take that into consideration, because potentially the 12Z ECMWF run this evening could show the Scandinavian high. So we do, of course, it all depends on sort of current runs, but this latest run is showing heights trying to ridge towards Scandinavia, but nothing coming off, and we stay similar to the GFS with westerly winds. One thing though is that 240 hours, high pressure is trying to ridge over the UK, a bit of higher pressure towards Scandinavia and Russia. Nothing crazy by any means, and it would be quite a mild pattern actually with those winds coming around that higher pressure, but it's still showing the hints of high pressure towards Scandinavia, and that's all we can sort of look at this stage. It's just hints, because by no means is it going to come off. The pattern still does generally look northwesterly, but of course it's a very, very changing situation, as we've seen over the last few weeks with the models flipping right before Christmas. So that's why I'm concentrating on this, because it could flip, it could not, and it's just something we've got to keep an eye on. Now, one thing why this Scandinavian high really caught my attention is because the UK Met Office run goes for it, which is generally the highest regarded model ahead of the ECMWF. We don't see its sort of full range. We only get to see 168 hours, but it is showing the Scandinavian high, and it just shows you how quickly things can flip. So we'll have to see what happens over the next 24 hours. It'll be very interesting to see whether this Scandinavian high sort of scenario stays within the model output or not. Now, you can see we see that low pressure move away, and then we see that northerly winds push through. Interestingly, we do develop that small feature to the south, which could bump into that colder air. Now, on this UK Met Office run, it's got a lot of milder air within it. The colder air is much too far to our north to produce anything wintry within it, but it's still something to keep an eye on. Once that clears through, we go into a much fresher air mass for Wednesday and Thursday, and then similar to the GEM, that mild sector tries to push in, but sort of gets almost pushed away. Eventually does sort of try and break through, but at 168 hours, Scandinavian high. Now, by no means is it a strong Scandinavian high. It's pretty weak at this stage. But you can see the jet stream is being pushed southwards towards southern France, potentially towards Spain. There's a cold pool of air towards Eastern Europe, Scandinavia. And we sort of got a battleground between this colder Scandinavian high and the westerly winds. So yeah, very big change on these 12Z models, and we'll have to keep an eye on it, of course. No guarantees at this stage, but very interesting seeing this suddenly pop up in the model output, because of course we have got blocking themes going on, but the polar vortex and the jet stream looks to be overpowering it at this stage. But if we did see this scenario come off, it would be very, very interesting towards the middle of January. Now, if we do have a look at the ECMWF Ensembles, now these are very good in this sort of scenario because they show the different scenarios the ensembles are going for at sort of different time frames, so we get a much better spread. Because as we'll see in the GFS Ensembles in a minute, they only show temperatures unless we wanted to go through each run, which would take a long time. They only show temperatures, and -5 at 850 HP is cold enough for snow, but from a northwesterly direction would only mainly be over hills in the north because it's coming over quite a long sea track, so surface conditions are milder. But if it came up from the east, it would be colder, potentially more widely cold. But on the ensemble charts, it shows the same thing. So that's why these ECMWF ensembles are going to be really quite important. Now, if we go to day 5, you can see generally things are pretty consistent. Northerly wind coming in on pretty much all of the runs. Just how strong is that high pressure ridging towards Iceland and how long the northerly wind holds on. You can see all very, very similar, with the high pressure sort of slowly dropping away, but how quickly it does that is what the uncertainty is there. However, as we push through to day 7, which is where the UKMO Office Run, the GN, is starting to show Scandinavian high hints. We're not seeing anything too crazy at this stage, but we can see that some of these ensemble members are showing the potential signs of a Scandinavian high. Now you can see the main cluster, 33.3%, are northwesterly winds. We have another 14 or 27.5%, still quite a few, with a bit more higher pressure towards Greenland. Bit more of a trough low pressure dropping further southwards, would be cold with that, potentially a bit more of a northerly direction. So similar to the 33.3%, but a bit colder potentially. Another 10 or 19.6 again has a very similar pattern, a bit more amplified once again, probably a bit more of a northerly pattern. Another 7 with high pressure towards Greenland, again a bit more of a northwesterly theme. And high pressure instead of the blues that we'd expect here if we were looking at the GFS Operational Run. And then finally there's another 3 with, again, a broadly northwesterly theme, high pressure over towards Eastern Europe. Could be a signal for a Scandinavian high, but we'll have to see with that. Very interesting signs, though, if we did move this on to 240 hours. Now, this is a little bit later than the UKMO Office Run and the GM was showing, but as we'll see, 33.3% have high pressure ridging towards Iceland, potentially trying to go up towards Scandinavia and pulling in a north to northeasterly wind. And you can see a very strong low pressure out in the middle Atlantic, and that could overpower it. But the signal from 33.3% of the ensemble members is for some colder north or northeasterly winds potentially. Another 12, including the ECMWF Operational Run, and this is from the midnight again. As I said, could change drastically, but the 12Z is southwesterly, quite mild. Bit of high pressure towards Scandinavia, but nothing crazy. Another 10 of higher pressure ridging towards Scandinavia, but not quite getting there with the northwesterly winds trying to overpower it. Another 13.7 showing high pressure firmly in control over the top of the UK and to our north. With the jet stream splitting to our north and to our south. You see that low pressure through southern France and Spain, Portugal. That's where another splinter of of jet stream is going, and we're pulling in a bit of a slack easterly. And another 5, which is just a flat southwesterly. That would be very mild with the high pressure shift further southwards and low pressure to our north. So you can see very, very interesting from these ensemble runs. Now, if we do move out to 300 hours, this is where things get really interesting. 27.5% the majority, very slight majority, Scandinavian high, full-blown Scandinavian high, bitterly cold, easterly winds. 25.5%, so one less, showing higher pressure over top of the UK, more amplification in the jet stream, but where that Scandinavian high is replaced by lower pressure, and it would generally be sort of a zonal sine wave, milder and colder sectors. Another 10 or 19.76% with a flat westerly wind, that would be probably around average temperatures. Another 9 or 17.6% high pressure over top of the UK would be a slack easterly, so probably would be a cool pattern, nothing massively cold, more likely just to be a bit of an inversion with cool surface conditions. Another 5 or 9.8%, looking like it's going to go into a bitterly cold Scandinavian high, but not quite getting there yet. If we go right towards 384 hours, you can see that Scandinavian high looks like it's breaking down on some of the runs with the jet stream powering through, but still that Scandinavian high could be there, and with these sliding lows, cold air to our east, that could be quite a snowy scenario depending on exactly where the low pressure sets up. Another 25.5% flat westerly winds, and that would be pretty mild. Another 19.6% has low pressure dropping into the North Atlantic. With the higher pressure a bit further southwards, that would be cool but westerly. Another 17.6% cold easterly winds, but not bitterly cold, with it high pressure not quite getting further as far northwards. Another 5, pretty chilly with high pressure just centred over the UK. So you can see, very interesting from these these ensemble runs, potential for Scandinavian high potentially. No guarantee by any means, but it is cropping up in the models and will be something we have to watch over the next 12 to 24 hours. Now, if we do have a look at the GFS ensembles, as I said, this won't decipher it too well because it just generally shows quite a chilly pattern. Quite mild at the moment, of course, record-breaking mild conditions for a few areas. And then we see the big drop-off, down to -5 or colder than that by sort of 5th, 6th of January, and it stays chilly. A brief milder sector does push through. Degrees of how mild that is still does depend on each run and not quite deciphered at this stage. But looking around average, really, that milder sector. And then it stays pretty chilly from the majority of the runs. Now, if I briefly refresh this, we get the last couple of days, and you can see right towards the end of the run, quite a few are staying around or below average, and quite a few staying around the -5 line, which if we kept that round for long enough, it would go pretty cold. So yeah, nothing too major on the GFS ensembles at this stage, similar to what we saw yesterday and the day before, with chilly conditions, colder than average, and it could be pretty wintry in the north. As if we do have a look at Glasgow, you can see, again, similar, around or below average, but of course their average is a degree or two colder than London's. And have a look at new snow depth, could be quite a lot of snowfall, especially over the hills, and of course the low-lying areas like Glasgow. There is a decent chance as well between the 6th to 10th of January. Now, one thing I do want to keep an eye on, which we can look on the ensembles, is the sea level pressure. If we saw a Scandinavian high, we would assume there would be a rise in pressure. And you can see around the 10th to the 15th of January, there is a reasonable rise in pressure. Similar to when the high pressure topples with that northerly wind we see next week. So quite a few showing high pressure returning, around 230 to 1,030 to 1,040 millibars. So high pressure potentially returning on some of these ensemble runs, which could hint Scandinavian high. At this stage, it's in the balance, but we are seeing these hints. So, as I said, not all hope is lost for winter. Now, if we do finally have a look at the UK Met Office run, have a look at the next 5 days. This is the 3 o'clock run, so it's the latest run, and you can see over the course of this evening, we're seeing some heavier rain push in across Northern Ireland and Scotland, but elsewhere, pretty dry nights, to be honest. Quite a lot of cloud around, and could be some drizzle and showers pushing through tomorrow morning, but generally not looking too bad if you are planning to get out on New Year's Day. A few showers, of course, in the evening across the north and the west, and then generally some heavier rain potentially in the south as well, pushing through early hours of the 2nd. But as we head through the 2nd, you can see another small low pressure system push through in the south, and then you start to see the colder air move in from the north by early hours of Monday. Some areas across northern Scotland could going to sleep when it's raining, and could wake up to snow. And that cold air is going to push further southwards, and you can see that low pressure bumping in to that colder air. Not turning to snow on this run, but we'd have to really keep an eye on this because it could be quite a significant snow event if we did see that colder air mix in with that rain. But at this stage, they're not really getting together too much. Beyond that, we stay fairly chilly, northerly winds, quite a few snow showers packing into the north, could be seen quite a covering there, and even snow showers pushing into the Midlands, Wales, Northern Ireland, quite widely. We are in January, of course, so whenever we get one of these colder air masses, quite likely we see winteriness. Could be quite a few grauple sort of showers, sleety snow showers around. And of course, most areas will be able to see this if we do get the precipitation in. And by Wednesday afternoon, still a few showers around, but starting to decrease as high pressure topples in. Now, if we do have a look at max temperatures, you can see tonight it's going to be really quite mild, 12, 13 degrees. Tomorrow afternoon, 1st of January, 14, 15 degrees, real quite mild and note. But by Sunday, we're starting to see temperatures drop off a little bit. Still 11 or 12 in the far southeast, but starting to drop off in the north. 7 or 8, potentially, maybe a bit milder, a bit colder in a few spots. But early hours of Monday, see that really cold air is arriving in the north, freezing across northern Scotland. 8, 9, 10 degrees across the south of England, and you can see that cold front moving through. Really quite amazing how that does move through, freezing across parts of northern England, and then you get to the parts of North Midlands, 7 or 8 degrees. And by the early hours of Tuesday, pretty much everywhere, apart from the far southeast, maybe East Anglia, is going to have really quite chilly conditions, around freezing, there or thereabouts. Tuesday afternoon, 2, 3 degrees, widely across England, Wales, maybe 4 degrees in a few spots. Further northwards, where we've been in that cold air for longer, around freezing. Widespread frost overnight Wednesday, widely down to freezing, 1 degree, and then by midday, 3 p.m., midday to 3 p.m. on Wednesday, only 3 or 4 degrees, and will feel colder with the chilly northerly wind. Again, these can change subtly depending on the exact air mass we do get, because as you saw by the ensemble runs, it's not exactly deciphered at this stage how cold the air mass is going to be, especially in the south. It could get down to maybe -7 or -8 degrees ANGFT HPA, whereas others have it around -4, -5, and those could make a bit of a difference, whether it's 3, 4, maybe 5 degrees, or 1 or 2 degrees. So we'll have to see with that. So yeah, very interesting side from the models this evening. We'll have to keep an eye on it, of course. No forecast is issued with the Scandinavian high. It's not guaranteed, but it just shows you how quickly things can change. So we'll have to keep an eye really on what happens with that. So anyway, thanks for watching. Hope you have a good evening this evening, and I'll see you in the new year.